Michael Vick was, for a few years, the most electrifying player in the entire NFL, a quarterback who moved like no one before him, worth a fortune, adored by millions. And then, at the absolute peak of it all, he lost everything. His career, his money, his freedom. He went to federal prison, and he came out the other side as one of the most hated men in all of America. 2007. Michael Vick is the face of a franchise, one of the highest paid athletes in American sport, with a contract worth around $100 million. And then a federal investigation tears his life apart. Authorities uncover an illegal dogfighting operation run on a property he owned, a brutal, cruel enterprise in which animals were abused and killed. The details horrify the country. Vick pleads guilty to a federal felony. And just like that, the superstar is gone, dropped by his team, abandoned by his sponsors, stripped of everything he had built, and headed for a prison cell. The fastest, most exciting player in football had become a symbol of everything people despised. So here are the two questions at the heart of this story. How does a man throw away $100 million life and his own freedom like that? And even harder to imagine, how do you come back from being one of the most hated people in the country? To understand both, you have to start where Michael Vick started, in a place with almost nothing. Michael Vick was born in 1980 and grew up in the housing projects of Newport News, Virginia, a tough, poor, sometimes violent environment where a lot of kids never get out. Keep that in mind, where he came from and how far he had to climb. For Vick, the way out was a gift almost no human being has: freakish, once-in-a-generation athletic talent. He could throw a football like a cannon and run like a sprinter, a combination the sport had barely ever seen at the quarterback position. He starred in college, and in 2001, he became the #1 overall pick in the entire NFL draft. The kid from the projects had made it, and he was about to change the way his sport was played. If you like the stories behind the legends, take a second to subscribe, and let's keep going. Because for a few years, Michael Vick was pure magic. Defenders would have him cornered, and he'd simply vanish, turning certain sacks into impossible highlight reel touchdowns. He became the first quarterback in NFL history to rush for 1,000 yards in a season, doing things with his legs that the position had never allowed. Kids everywhere wanted to be him. He was on the cover of the video game. He signed one of the richest contracts in the sport. He wasn't just a star. He was a phenomenon, a glimpse of the future of football. And years later, you can draw a straight line from Michael Vick to a whole generation of running quarterbacks who followed. He had escaped poverty, carried his family and his whole neighborhood on his back, and reached the very top of the world with everything a person could possibly want. And that's exactly what makes what he did next so hard to comprehend. Because while he was living that dream, Michael Vick was also secretly bankrolling and running an illegal dogfighting ring. When the federal case broke open in 2007, the cruelty of it, animals abused, animals killed, sparked national outrage. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a technicality. It was a serious, sickening crime, and Vick admitted it, pleading guilty in federal court. The reaction was total. Sponsors like Nike cut him instantly. His team moved on. Protesters showed up wherever his name appeared. In the space of a few weeks, one of the most beloved athletes in America became one of the most reviled. And the fall was only just beginning. Because Michael Vick went to federal prison, serving around 1.5 years behind bars. And while he sat in that cell, the empire he'd built collapsed. All that money, the $100 million career, was gone, swallowed by lost contracts, legal fees, and debts. He was forced to file for bankruptcy. Think about the whole arc for a second. From the projects to the #1 pick to $100 million to a superstar the whole country adored, and now a convicted felon, broke, disgraced, sitting in prison with a name that had become an insult. Most people at that point are finished. Their story is over. And for a while, everyone assumed his was too, that he would be remembered only as the cautionary tale, the gifted man who blew up his own life. He had gone from having everything the world can offer to having nothing at all in a matter of months, and he had no one to blame for it but himself. Michael Vick's story somehow was not over. Because when he got out, he did something almost no one thought possible. He came back. A team, the Philadelphia Eagles, took a chance on him to enormous controversy. And Vick, older, humbled, and by many accounts a changed man, seized it. In 2010, he put together a season so good, he was named the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year, playing some of the best football of his entire life. On the field, the man everyone had written off had clawed his way back to the top level of his sport. Stadiums that once cheered him, then jeered him, slowly filled with respect again, at least for what he was doing on the grass. But the more important comeback was the one off the field, because this time, he wasn't just trying to win games or win back a paycheck. He was trying to win back something much harder to earn, a bit of trust and his own self-respect. He was trying to become a different kind of man than the one who had gone to prison. And that's the part that matters most. Michael Vick didn't hide from what he had done or pretend it away. He publicly took responsibility for his crime, called it the worst mistake of his life, and then did something with it. He began working against the very cruelty he had once been part of, partnering with animal welfare groups and speaking to young people about the choices that had destroyed his career. It didn't undo the harm nothing could, and plenty of people will never forgive him, which is their right. But he chose accountability over excuses. And in the years since, he rebuilt a respectable life. A family man, a television analyst, and more recently, a college head coach, guiding young athletes and passing on the hardest lesson he ever learned. So here is the real story of Michael Vick. Remember how he started the electric superstar who lost it all? His talent was never really the point of his story. The point is the fall and what he did after it. Everything that made him rise, that climb out of the projects, that refusal to be finished, is exactly what he needed to survive being at the very bottom, disgraced and broke and behind bars. His life is a hard, honest lesson that you can reach the top of the world and destroy it with your own choices, and that redemption isn't erasing what you did because you can't. It's taking responsibility for it, paying the price, and spending the rest of your life trying to be better than your worst mistake. Michael Vick had everything, threw it away, and then had to learn how to become a whole man. And that, far more than any highlight, is what makes his story unforgettable. So can a person truly redeem themselves after that? Tell me in the comments and subscribe, because next time we go behind the curtain on another legend the world only thinks it knows.